Hello and welcome to Discussability, a podcast focusing on community education and storytelling around disability. We are your hosts, Macdonald Metzger, and
Christine Chilaka.
we create accessible, inclusive content for the general public. Discussion topics include current events in disability, lived experiences, policies, and resources.
Hello, Discussability listeners. I hope all is well out there in your world. For us here in the Discussability realm, we are extremely excited for our guest today, Paavlena Krupp. Paavlena is a self-advocate, a Special Olympian, and a former AUCD Emerging Leader, just to name a few.
That's right. Paavlena wears a lot of hats, and we are thrilled to have the opportunity to hear more about them. So, without further ado, Paavlena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And I'm ready to answer any questions.
Great. Well, I think maybe to just get us started, how are you doing today? How's the weather where you are?
Well, I would say it's nice and beautiful and hot because actually it's like a perfect sunny day, but like we have flowers coming out of our grass.
Where in the world are you right now? Because with now with the COVID and the internet and working from home, you can be anywhere like Christine. She's in the Dominican Republic right now.
Okay, now that's funny. So, but I would say I'm still in Arizona, Tucson, Tenke Verde.
Okay. In
Must be
Arizona.
hot.
It
Arizona.
is hot. It is hot. All right. Well, let me ask you, Pavlina, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your childhood. We want to learn more about who you are.
I am a person with different abilities and Down syndrome that would never stop who I am because I am a leader. I am like an athlete leader. I am also outgoing. I am very fun person to get to know, and I am also a quick learner and very detailed oriented. Because if you get to know me, then when you work with me, because I kind of work slow, I take my own time, but I still need help based on my time management and making sure that I am preparing well on the computer. But otherwise, that's who I am, and I'm proud of it.
Right. That's definitely something to be proud of. Those are skills that many of us struggle with, especially the time management piece. So that's really important. And
Yeah,
also
and
to be, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Macdonald. I also want to add, because I am definitely able, everyone is having hard time with time management, getting to place as a transportation. But if they're going to be at home, they can do whatever they want. Like beside they having their own parents living with them, and they are hardworking, going out to work a lot. Than us, we're fine to be at home. But when you put us outside, we don't know where we need to navigate
That's
throughout life.
that's true. That is true. Now, Pavlina, can you talk a little bit about your time with the Special Olympics? Can you say a little about that time?
Yeah, which one? Special Olympics Florida or Arizona?
Maybe both. Let's hear a little bit of each.
Okay.
Maybe start with Florida or whichever one that came first.
Yeah, because I feel when Special Olympics Florida helped me, because instead of me going to Special Olympics, they came to me in a way because I started in Miami, Florida, 2013, and they actually helped me with my education, my school, and then after uh, education, school, my sports, my social event. So it helps me to come out to the community, and because I got all the experience in Florida, I can put it into Arizona. The only down part, I thought they don't have athlete leaders.
Mhm.
But finally, when I saw it, they do have athlete leader events. And also, maybe I could participate in sports. But I am so happy instead of doing sports with them, they put me right away on work just and say that you're gonna host fashion, dance, and other stuff. That actually helped me more because I feel like they can use me as a person, not as a prop. So,
Mhm.
well, like still, there's always a difference between Arizona and Florida because Florida, again, with the transportation, it would take so long to get to absolutely anywhere, but bad timing. Arizona is like 30 minutes. If they want me, they had to come and get me instead of me going there because it'd be sometimes long drive.
How did you get involved with the Special Olympics?
So one is at 2013 in the Florida region. In Arizona, that'd be easier because it's before COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So in 2013, they reach out to you
yeah, in Florida, yes.
in
Or
Florida.
I reach out to them with my lawyer.
Mhm. Was it just because you wanted to get involved in all of these activities within your community and
Yes,
be an important member of your community as you are already?
yes, because I want to make a difference in this world, McDonald,
Mhm.
Mr.
Mhm.
McDonald, because if they're going to use me properly as an athlete and athlete leader in Florida, then they had to tell me what time, where is it going to be, and how do I be there safe. If they don't answer me those three questions, I think Arizona has more lead than Florida. But again,
Mm.
not only what time and place, over here it's like, okay, I need a transportation.
Mhm.
Then what time will it get me? Like that.
Pablina, what sports do you play?
Going back to my memory lane in Florida, I would say swimming, stand-up paddleboarding, and gymnastics. And then later I got more involved in like in acting.
Amazing, amazing.
And I'm still very happy that even though I'm in Arizona, I'm continuing doing swimming. But
Mm.
hopefully I can do more sports than swimming.
How have these experiences been for you? Can you walk us through or describe how that experience been involved in all of these different activities or sporting activities within your community?
That's a good way to put it because whatever experience I have, I want to save the youth of Arizona so that if you're going to use me properly here, I need your help by getting the transportation I need, getting there safe, and knowing my parents are be okay that I'm in the safe hands. But
Mhm.
in the experience part in Florida, again, it's kind of based on the safety issue. What time
Mhm.
I get there, and will I be okay?
Right.
So, as an experience, it's better to use the experience what I already have and put it into the youth of Arizona.
Can you also just to dig deeper? Can you describe what the impact your involvement with the Special Olympics have had in your own life?
So basically, I feel it's all about me to be connected to my community. So let's start out with the Florida athletes when they use me. Uh, when they use me, what I mean is if they're gonna have these any events for for them for Special Olympics, then they have to call me. But when they call me, it's like, okay, if you're gonna use me, how am I gonna get there? How am I gonna be part of the community if I don't have the transportation or something to be useful in Florida or any event, something? But again, it'll take long time, and I feel like still in that whole gap. I feel like I love being part of that athlete and athlete leader for them because athletes, I have people and I have friends that I can count on. And again, not only the community piece, it's about social and like attention.
Mhm.
because at least I can get their attention from 101 or to other people, because that's the part of the personality. I am outgoing. I like to talk to people. That from at that point from Florida, in Arizona, it's like only few virtual events. I mean, lots of virtual events than physical, because we don't see each other at that point. So I like how Florida, like I can see everyone, different events. But the weakness is that timing or the transportation. Arizona is, I know again with the timing and the transportation, but I feel like I want to be part of a group or some part of community, then they can like talk to me as an equal.
That's interesting. So it seems like while you were at the Special Olympics, what you noticed as a difference between Florida and Arizona is that in Florida, their accessibility kind of stopped after they invited you. They didn't kind of give you more communication on transportation and timing, all of that. Is that what you're trying to say? Like when
Well,
you were, go ahead.
it's only the timing, but they can give me the plates. But how will I
Mhm.
get to the plates?
Right.
Because it's like, first of all, it's a long traffic, but Florida traffic is really bad now. Now too, I'm going to Orlando just Friday, and they're gonna COVID test me
Mm,
because it's higher in Florida than over here.
right.
Pavlina, will you say that the impact that your participation in the life of your community have had goes beyond sports?
Yes, so that's why from before when I said, okay, so let me dig more deeper here. At that point, when I was very small, I used TV characters as my friends. Then finally, when Special Olympics coming and knocking at the door, or me going knocking at their doors,
Mhm.
whatever the catchphrase is, when they help me, I feel like now I can stop watching TV or stop. When I'm watching TV, I use them as friends. But now when Special Olympics comes, then I got more friends. So why am I feel like I am very sheltered, but I want to be more open. But I know my personality is more open than very closed.
Mm.
Yeah, so you said like when you were a child, where you were finding friendship was through TV, you're watching people and those are becoming like emotionally just your friends because you're enjoying seeing them. But when you got to the Special Olympics, now you're finally interacting with folks and these are now becoming your friends.
Friends first,
Wow.
yes. But it's hard to get any connection or deep relations. When I
Hmm.
do, then people, it's like, okay, they're gonna move away, or they're gonna
Mm,
have a child, or whatever. I'm just feeling left out.
mm,
If they're gonna use me in Florida, like what I'm saying, if they're gonna work with me, then they gotta give me a notice, and I
mhm,
can see that similarity. Oh my god! Now when I'm talking, I can totally see the similar in
Mhm.
Arizona, because when I'm working under a person, and then they don't tell you when they say, "Oh, I'm going to Washington D.C." or "I'm going to this place." I'm still on the bottom of the place that they want me to work with that person who are moving away.
and they're
In
not letting you
Florida,
know.
oh my God. From Florida to
Mm,
Arizona, back to Florida. Again, when people like, when I was as an athlete leader, right away, my first mentor was my camp counselor, but she's too busy because she's a soccer mother. And then
mhm,
later, I'm trying to find another mentor. She's a staff boarding coach, but again, she had to move because she's a world traveler or doing something with her family. And then, wow, when I'm connecting these dots,
yeah.
everyone is trying to get away from me,
Mm,
or they don't give me no notification what I'm doing. Because
mm.
if I'm gonna work under them, they don't tell me anything. And oh my gosh, that's my history now.
Mm. And so how do you respond to that when you're feeling like you're making these connections, but then they're moving away or there's something happening and they're not really communicating with you, but they still want you to be involved in a role.
That's a difficult thing for me because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. The only thing I know is like to call the head of the department and say, what's going on because my mentor left or doing something. Oh, they agree, they left. But what am I doing?
Mm.
Same thing in Arizona. Oh my God. Thank you for talking to me, Mr. Macdonald. Same thing is happening in Arizona. If I'm gonna work with somebody and then somebody already left, now what's going on? Is it not only me? It's them. If they don't give me nothing notification, Siemens Florida, I think they will talk to the program or they will just leave without telling the program. And then again, it's like, okay, huh? What's happening? Something like that in a feeling.
So, thank you so much for talking about kind of your experience with Special Olympics. But we're hearing how it, in a lot of ways, had a positive impact in your life, but then you also experienced some frustrations. And so I'm curious, are there any other programs that you've been involved with besides the Special Olympics?
Yeah, but before I say anything, but I know later I think Florida will hear me, but I don't complain how they don't treat me well. But I'm saying that they did treat me well. I'm happy when I was working with them. But now I'm in Arizona. A lot of trickiness when I'm back to Orlando. I gotta be careful not to like Arizona people. If they're gonna know me, I get distracted easily. I'm had to root against another team, and so it's kind of difficult to be part of my home country but still represent another place.
Yeah.
And then,
Paavlena,
yes,
no, I was just going to ask more about how you got connected to these two states. Do you have family in each one of them?
yes,
Okay.
because again, not only having friends is important. For friends in Florida, they actually became my family, but it is hard to be connected to the family if they are like, oh, okay, I'm with a kid, so now who are you? Or if they were traveling, and then again, who are you? What am I, a peach lover? You don't know me?
Right.
And then again, this is so weird to tell you guys, but if they're gonna call me, they said, oh, is this Purnima? No, I am Paavlena. They think that I'm sounding like my mother.
Yeah, and I mean it's nice to hear that you're in these spaces and you're advocating for yourself and making sure that your name is addressed properly and saying if you need communication, really letting them know that they're able to give you the information that you need in order to be successful in these different programs like the Special Olympics. And so back to kind of the question I asked, is there any other programs that you've been involved in?
So I will start off saying yes, because in Florida I got to be again a Best Buddy ambassador for a day.
Wow.
That's a way. That's a better way to say it. By the day, I was an ambassador for Best Buddies. But again, thinking about Arizona, like, do they have Best Buddies? No. So I'm trying to find more places in Arizona to find more programs. But for now, it's like we only have one car.
Right.
But yeah, so Best Buddies and Demoya Foundation. Because I'm definitely able, the first thing I realized, and even they support me in this, but when the first principal came, they be okay. They can pay me well. But for the second principal, oh, can we use her as a book? Like, is he a borrowable book? Can she still work for us, but we don't need to pay her? Hello, you're talking to a different abled. If you don't want to pay me, then why am I working for you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's the Demoya thing. Because if I'm differently abled, they are to treat me properly. I am not a book to use. If they're gonna use me, then again, they need to know about my situation or something.
Yeah.
And it'd be great to find more programs like this also in Arizona, but actually treat me as like I know I have these abilities, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not to use it against me.
Mm.
Pavlina, it sounds like what you really getting at, and which is also very interesting to this conversation, is the fact that people with disabilities should be able to live and work in their communities, to be recognized for their contributions and rewarded. And that reward can come in the form of a pay, a salary, a wages, that are livable wages, not just any wage, but something that a person with disabilities or disability can actually live on, or sustain themselves.
And I agree with you on that.
And, not to go back too far, but in the beginning, you had mentioned that you were an ambassador for Best Buddies. So, for our listeners out there, could you just talk a little bit about what is Best Buddies? I know from what I've heard that it's kind of just this program
So
where you get paired with folks and do different activities together.
that's one thing. Citizen Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Miami Citizen is the Best Buddies adult friendship program. We seek to build stronger, larger, more cohesive community of adults with IDD that are matched with a peer buddy without the IDD. Because I'm with a disability, they want me to be paired with without a person with IDD.
Okay. And so, I do want to preface this with I met with Paavlena before this interview, and we were able to talk. And one of the things that we talked about that you're really strong about is guardianship. And so I want to know, Paavlena, what does guardianship mean to you, and how do you navigate it?
So finally, I heard guardianship in Arizona, but from before, Florida had to send all the guardianship to the Arizona. So at that point, I love this person because he gets to know me. We are both uh, outgoing. We can talk our hearts out. We like dogs. Okay, no matter what, if it's a dog person or cat person, I'm mainly dog person.
Mm.
So it's easy to connect with this person. But in Florida, I never got connected to that person right away. So what it means to me is like finally I'm learning how to be my own guardian, but
Mm.
still have my parents as a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
That they want me to stay healthy, stay safe, but and all healthy and safe, and learning about money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so money. Let's talk about that a little bit because I am having a hard time recognizing different money management. But still
Mm-hmm.
in Florida, I learned first week when I went to college, I literally gained fat. And that was kind of hard because
Mm-hmm.
when I'm trying to work out, trying to lose that fat, it takes more practice.
Right.
Even when you come to Arizona, again, more practice, even though it's all virtual events. But no matter what, I always like my community in Florida, and if they're gonna help me to be more uh, out in the community or
Mm-hmm.
learning about different things, then hopefully I can share it to my Arizona community.
Right. So you want to take things that you learned about guardianship while you were in Florida and then bring it over to Arizona.
Yes,
Mm.
and
And so,
hopefully it's style.
mhm. So would you say that now, do you still find kind of money handling and finances, is that something that's still difficult for you, or do you feel
Yes.
like you've mastered? Okay. And so, as you're talking about guardianship and saying that you kind of found your way of being your own guardian while still having your parents as lawyers to make sure that if you need any help, they're there, but you're the one that's majority taking care of yourself. And you also gave some examples of how you were self-advocating, whether it be for the Special Olympics in Florida, transportation, financial compensation. But what kind of challenges have you had while you were trying to advocate for yourself?
Ms. Kusri, that's a tough question for me to answer that because I don't know.
Hmm. So, to you, what does it mean when you hear the word self-advocate? What are some words that come to mind for you?
Self means me.
Mm-hmm.
Advocate means advocating for others.
Mm,
So how do I advocate for others before you get to know yourself? Because
right.
what I learned from self is about you. What do you want to do to advocate for others or respect others? Oh my God, there's more connections here. I was kind of researching on Google. How do I give respect, but with example to show? First of all, like you know who you are, but how do you know you are helping other people?
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, you always learn about yourself before you're going to help other people or their
Mm-hmm.
abilities. How do you know other people's abilities if you don't ask them?
Right, right. And so for you, when you hear self-advocate, you're thinking, how can I help other people? And it's interesting that you bring up, you really have to know yourself before you're able to lend a helping hand. And that, of course, reminds me of when you're on an airplane and they say you got to put on your oxygen mask first before you put on the oxygen mask for others. And so can we hear just a little bit of how you really began to like know more about who Paavlena is, more about yourself, which then helped you be able to help others?
Again, another good question
Mm-hmm.
is that, again, how do you know you are taken care of? How you're
Mm-hmm.
staying healthy? How you
Mm-hmm.
are like a right leader and a good role model to advocate for others because they don't know how to advocate for themselves.
Right.
And also from themselves, how do you like before helping people, like again, like who you are, how can we help you in a way?
Yeah.
Because help means
Mhm.
you, advocate means helping people,
Right.
but before you help people, how do other people uh, can help, like how do we help you in a way without you don't give me any details who you are or how you work.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you need people to kind of share a little bit about themselves so that you can know how to best help them because you know it has to be unique to that person.
Yeah, even like if there are different abilities, like an autistic or like Asperger's. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope people are listening to this because this is my dream. I want to work with people who don't know how to talk or do something. Then at that point, I can find other tools to help them. Because I remember since the Florida trip, I mean, when I was living there, apparently, when I was in the STS, Special Transportation Services, I do not know there was person with autism and kind of mixed with Asperger's a little bit. And before he has a person, and I think that kid was kind of pulling my hair when I was in the front, but that's still fine. The later, like, oh my god, how this person function, how this person like that. So my dream is still working with those people. With they want to touch everything, but they can't. But still, like that's my dream. Want to work with those kind of people. But
Mm-hmm.
now, because I'm independently able in a disability part or with Down syndrome, how can we find a good job for me to work? Even like before I get not healthy. When I was here, I used to dream to be a teacher assistant. Then later I got sick. I don't know if that's my dream to get sick. That's the thing. So I changed my job right away. I already noticed.
Pavlina, thank you so much for everything you've said. We are really enjoying this conversation with you. Um,
Oh, me
oh,
too. I do enjoy.
yeah, I want to turn your direction a little bit to talking about AUCD. We know that you are an AUCD Emerging Leader.
Mm-hmm.
Our listeners do not know that, so that was the surprise we've been keeping for them. However, I'd like to ask you to share a little bit about your experience being an AUCD Emerging Leader. Can you tell us about that, or who an AUCD Emerging Leader is, and how that experience have been for you?
So if you really know about my history, my personality, or who I
Hmm.
am, now let's put it into the AUCD firm. Because there's a few things I can relate when people are dropping out or don't tell you something in but still like well doesn't land. So let's start with AUCD because if they're gonna give me some work, when it's the deadline, what am I doing? Because they don't give me no work. That's one thing. I don't want to complain about them, but I know I love them. But I also did a few experiments in land. Hopefully, I can talk about that, Mr.
Mhm.
McDonald, because from there, again, in land, they are very helpful. They know how they can help me to be a good person when I'm on time, like that. But in AUCD, again, what am I doing for them? You know, as emerging leader, uh, uh, I want to, if I'm had to follow another person, I'll give them role model to any advice. First thing, I will not drop them as a fly in a way. I'll work until they need me or want to use me for something. But if people want to drop and not teach me, then how do I teach others?
And these were some great, points that you brought up, because I know for the Emerging Leader program, when we had our closeout session, Paavlena, you said some of these things where there was a little bit of breakdown in communication. And as a result of that, the program is going to be, creating tutorials and kind of listing out instructions on what the role of emerging leader is. And so even using that program as a time to advocate for future emerging leaders.
And they did. Like they actually, when I got done, there was another person coming out of my spot. They want my spot, but now what am I going to do? What advice will I give them? Like that.
Right. I think too it cuts into you being reaching out to AUCD and offering to be a mentor to other emerging leaders or self advocates like you. Maybe people from Arizona or people from Florida where you've also lived.
Well, here's a good question for you, Ms. McDonald. How can I be a mentor or part of the AUCD team if people with me, after when they worked with me, I don't know if they would do the same thing to the other people. I had to be worried about that. Then how do I be the right person for, when I want to like mentor another person? I don't want them to go in the same place where I was.
I think that's where your advocacy skills kick in, because then you can use your self advocacy skills, your leadership skills, to really be a good advocate for yourself and for other members of your community, including people that you work with or that you know from from AUCD. But I know we're running out of time here, Paavlena. Let me move on to your participation in the Arizona Youth Leadership Program. Can you tell us a little bit about your time with the Arizona Youth Leadership Program? I know we're asking you a lot of questions about different things, different agencies, but I think it's because you are very skilled in different areas, from sports to AUCD to now the Arizona Youth Leadership Program. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your involvement with the leadership program?
Okay, so before I talk about XUILF, I remember that. Remember when I was speaking about differently able people have autism or Asperger's? So, as an XUILF, I had this person with that autistic but not Asperger's who came and worked with me from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. First of all, that's a long hour for me to look at the computer. Again, with maybe I could say mental health or how long. Sometimes they give breaks, but I do enjoy being part of a team or how I work with them. How a person came with themselves, but actually it's next time I need to learn. If they could send a person to with me or understand me, how do I understand them because they're differently abled and they have some food restriction? Because when you have another person at a point that you don't know, and how do you help them to be part of the program too? Because there's some connection. Because if they're coming to my house, we have to be careful how we cook for them or how we host them. Because we came from different nationality here. Because
Right.
I know I was born in India, but as an Indian, why are we easy to cook or be a good person like that? So that's my where I was born as a nationality, but still helping people from there. What are you allergic of? What are you gonna do like that?
Mhm.
And also remove your shoes because we're an Indian household. So I hope that will answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you for the response, Pavlina. I know Christine have some more questions for you before we close.
Yeah, I know. We were gonna, talk about COVID-19, but I know you mentioned already about the impact of that in the beginning of our conversation when you were talking about Florida, some of their restrictions, as well as how it contrasted with Arizona. And so, kind of the next two questions that we have for you is a little bit more about yourself. And like Macdonald said, thank you so much for talking about all of these different programs that you've been involved in and really giving us examples of how you were able to not only advocate for yourself, but advocate for others and put things in motion so that there can be policies in the future, especially for the Emerging Leader program. And so the question I want to ask is, what is something that people seem to misunderstand about you?
Oh, wow. That's actually a good question again, but I don't know how people misunderstand me because first thing maybe I talk too much or I don't get to the point, and also and I know I'm funny, but where's the punchline like that? But still, it's like when you talking to me, do you both think that I'm being misunderstood? Because I never had a question before because I don't know how people misunderstood me.
Mm. Yeah, and so from this conversation, no, and so then would you say like you don't feel like you've had any misunderstandings? Like you feel like as you've kind of been going through things, you've had clear kind of interactions with people.
That is a little bit, but still, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
When talking, how did you misunderstood me like that? Even with Mr. McDonald, if you misunderstood me, what is my weak point on that? Because I know when I'm talking, I can talk and talk and talk. How do I stop? And also, if I keep on eating, but I don't feel full,
Mm-hmm.
same thing. People can misunderstood that, oh my God, that person is going to be a beast. That's one thing. Or second thing,
Mm-hmm.
when will she ever stop eating?
Mm-hmm.
Or even when, or when is this person going to stop talking?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm a talkative person. For my personality, I can be a talkative person too. But
Mm-hmm.
how do I use that as misunderstood thing?
Right. And I mean, just to answer your question, from this standing on this side, no, I don't feel like I've misunderstood you. And, for someone, if you're saying like you talk a lot, that's great for this because we're having an interview with you. So we love, to hear what you have to say. We love to hear all of it. And so in that regard, for me, no, there really hasn't been any misunderstandings. But as I'm kind of listening to some of the stories that you've told us about your time in Florida with the AUCD Emerging Leader program, some of the things that you've mentioned, for me, they seem like, and you can always correct me if I'm incorrect, but it seems like there was some misunderstandings, whether it be scheduling, whether it be someone's leaving and they're not really communicating with you and they're making assumptions that you may already know what your role is or you may already know how to get to some place.
No, you actually did a very good job saying everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it can be very hard and challenging to know who I am before, again, I was me. Or how can I help other people then if they don't tell me what their abilities, then again is all rely on that the program and their mentors and then not me because if I'm done, then how do I teach? I got a lot of public professors in my house.
Right.
You know how to do this easily. But with me, again, oh my gosh, when I teach, first of all, I know I talk too much. How do I get to the
You,
point?
you don't talk too much. This is great.
No, that's my weakness, Miss Macdonald. I do talk too much, but what am I saying? Did I get to that line that what I need to say is out there? It's hard to get to that straight into being clear or what
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell other people how you can become who you are like
Mhm.
that. But become who you are, everything had to come back to me like a snake or like a dust come after me and say, okay, before you could help them, tell me who you are. And that's a good question. When you say who you are, then you heard dead silent because sometimes that's hard. And it's hard for people to know who they are or to help them, to teach them. Help and teaching and then get to know you, those are really tricky challenges.
Mm.
Right, right. Pavlina, sorry to interrupt you. I know we started this conversation talking about your childhood, learning more about who you are. And I want us to close also by going back to where we started. If you could talk to your younger self, your, you know, youthful self, what advice would you have for her, the younger you?
Never be used of who you
Mm.
are, but just know that who you are is not a threat. It's not a piece of thing you can judge on. If you're going to be who you are, then be you. Nothing will stop you to know what's your destiny or how to help people. But when you were young, stay true to yourself before you help or teach.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful,
Or
and
also
thank
learn to
you.
love yourself, even
Mhm.
though people will treat you or use you to your abilities, then never back down on a fight. So keep on being who you are and tell them that this is me, but if you're going to use me correctly.
Mm.
Really
And
being a
that's the
very
advice I
strong
would give to my
advocate.
younger self.
Mhm.
This is great. This is great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I will turn it over to Christine to wrap us up.
Yes, Pavlina, that is the perfect way to end, and that is great advice. Not even for a younger self, for pretty much everyone, to always stay true to yourself. Don't be used, or really learn who you are before you start helping others. Really get to know yourself. And so we want to thank you so much, Pavlina, for joining us on this episode. This has been such a great chat with you. And yeah, I feel like that's the best way to end. So, Pavlina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on this interview. And also, if other people want to hear why I am me, then tell me directly. Don't look down on me.
Mm. And so, Pavlina, for the listeners out there, if they would want to get in contact with you, join you on Twitter or Instagram, anything like that, is there an Instagram username you can give the viewers or Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, so if people want to follow me on Facebook, they can, but on Instagram, wait a minute. So my Twitter is Krupp
Mm-hmm.
Paavlena Krupp, and then on the Instagram, it's I had to change it because somebody actually hacked it. Instead of Paavlena is my last name and then Paavlena.
Okay. Perfect. Well, once again, Pavlina, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone out there who joined us today.
Thank you to our guest for this show. We will be back with another episode next month. But in the meantime, we want to know, what would you like to discuss this season? Write to us at the email address discussability@gmail.com. That's DISCUSSABILITY@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail at 701 888 9224. Again, that's 701 888 9224.
This has been an episode of Discussability, the podcast that gets you in the know about all things disability. You can also find us on Twitter at Discussability and on YouTube. Discussability is produced by Christine Chilaka, Gregory Friedberg, Kenneth Pechtl, and Macdonald Metzger. You can find Discussability on iTunes, Google, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are made available. Music is Around the Bend by Evan Schaefer, used with permission. Thank you for joining us.